Corey Graves. He's at it again. He's befuddled. His mind is boggled at the booking of Charlotte Flair because she's not thrusted into main events finally. Because Charlotte Flair doesn't have her 11th title reign in just a few years. Corey Graves is mind boggled. On his little podcast before, during, or after the bell, whatever you want to call it, he says, and I quote about Charlotte Flair, "In my opinion, Charlotte Flair has never felt less important than she does now. This is Charlotte Flair we're talking about. She has a resume a mile long. In a few short years, she has cemented herself as one of, if not the greatest female superstar in WWE history. When it's all said and done, I'm sure we'll be referring to the Queen as such. But something about what's been happening lately just feels off. This whole tag team thing with Charlotte finding a different partner week after week, it just doesn't click. I'm not feeling it. It looks to me like Charlotte isn't feeling it. You can see it in her face. Charlotte looks like she's going through the motions and just getting through the night. I'm just saying what's happened to Charlotte Flair has made her feel less than Charlotte Flair for some reason. Gee, Corey Graves, if only you were as smart as some people give you credit for. Unfortunately, that's not just the case, because if you just use whatever brain you have in your dome piece, all of your questions would be answered. You start off with, in my opinion, Charlotte Flair has never felt less important than she does now. What are you talking about? You're unhappy with the way she's being booked. WrestleMania, she was in the main event. SummerSlam, a few months later and a few months ago, she was defeating Trish Stratus, a legend in this business. Just a couple of months ago, she was defeating Bayley for the Women's Championship. Just this past Monday, she nearly defeated Asuka and Kairi Sane. Nobody was talking about how awesome Asuka and Kairi looked in that handicap match. They were all talking about how awesome Charlotte Flair was and how she almost defeated them. And that's not good when you have tag team champions like Asuka and Kairi. They should be giving any other tag team, 2 other females, a run for their money. But one female, Charlotte Flair, almost beat them and took them to the limit in over a 15-minute match, and you're not happy with her booking? A WrestleMania main event, a SummerSlam win over Trish Stratus, defeating Bayley just 2 months ago at Hell in a Cell for the championship, almost defeating Asuka and Kairi, but you're not happy because she's not thrusted in more main events, because she doesn't have more gold around her waist. Are you fucking kidding me, dude? You use your platform for this bullshit agenda? Where's this rage and mind-boggledness when it comes to Sasha Banks or Naomi or Ember Moon or Asuka's booking? Even with championships, they're booked like jokes. Bayley has a championship and she's tapping out vividly to Shayna Baszler at Survivor Series. Asuka has a tag team championship and she barely defeats Charlotte Flair with somebody right by her side in a handicap match with Kairi, and she barely squeaks by Charlotte Flair. Where's the rage? Sasha Banks, look at her 2019. She was so pissed off at her booking she had to leave the company. Naomi has been out with personal issues. At the top of that list is probably working for a bullshit, dumb fuck company like the one you work for, Corey. That's why we don't see Naomi. Ember Moon worked her ass off at every live event, could barely get TV time. She worked her ass off so fucking much, she got injured. She blew out a wheel. Naomi's gone right now. Sasha was gone for the longest time. Ember Moon, gone. Whether personal reasons or injuries or they just had enough and they just left. That's real issues, Corey Graves. Not WrestleMania main events, SummerSlam victories over Trish Stratus, winning the championship 2 months ago at Hell in a Cell, almost winning a handicap match against 2 amazing female talents, but you're not happy. Just doesn't feel like Charlotte. You are a fucking, you're a piece of work, bro. and they give you your own fucking show because you're supposed to be the controversial figure. You're supposed to be the one that they're hoping people gravitate to, so it leads you and steers you or the audience away from people like the Amplified Man or people like JD. But the problem is, we're gonna continuously call you out on your bullshit because that's all you spew out. You feel me? When you could be using this platform for a real agenda. Like sticking up for real talent that has actually been held down. Like the Sashas, the Naomis, the Embers, and the Asukas. But instead, you use your agenda for some bullshit nonsensical trash. And now, you went with your other blonde, right? You went with Carmella. Be happy with that, bro. Are we gonna get that next? Are we gonna get a whole fucking segment of your little podcast talking about how you're upset how Carmella's been booked? You have been literally sucking the right tit of Charlotte Flair from the beginning. No matter which direction she positioned herself to, you were right there sucking her right tit. Enough! Get off that shit! That's Andrade's now. Your queen, as you put it. What's the fucking phrase you put? She's gonna be cemented as one of, if not the greatest female superstar in WWE history. When it's all said and done, I'm sure we'll be referring to the queen as such. How much are they paying you to say this shit, bro? You're supposed to be their controversial figure that's calling out WWE's BS. Just like CM Punk is supposed to be on Backstage. But you're all just corporate clowns. Even though CM Punk is signed to Fox. You really think he's gonna level that company like he should? Like we would hope that he does? He's not going to, bro. He's gonna give you some headlines just like you're doing. CM Punk, every time he's on Backstage, will give us headlines. Ooh, damn, he called out WWE Creative. Damn, he leveled a superstar. He roughed up their booking and how they're being utilized. Man, CM Punk is one hell of a pipe bomber. Same with Corey Graves, man. He's talking some crazy shit on the podcast. It's must listen type shit. But is it? Or are you just going along, moseying along with the same nonsensical bullshit that we've been hearing from people like you, corporate clowns? That's all you're doing. It takes people like me on this platform, whether people like it or not, to actually dish out the truth, to actually call it down the middle and call people like you out, because it's people like you, your false agendas, and the narratives that you're trying to push that is absolutely bullshit and mind-boggling to people like me. It's people like you that are bringing the business down. Because then all of the sheep, they hear this and they start going, Charlotte Flair is misutilized. She is not being booked correctly. We need to get her back to the main event and back to the championship. What about Sasha, Naomi, and Ember Moon, and Asuka, and even Kairi? What the fuck has Kairi gotten? A tag team championship and nearly defeated by one female? Bro, it's bullshit. And instead of stepping up, standing up, voicing out for those talents, you chose Charlotte Flair? A different tag team partner every week, and it's not clicking, and you can tell Charlotte Flair is going through the motions, you say. She doesn't feel like herself. Bro, how do you think all the other females felt? How do you think Sasha felt, and the reason she had to walk away? The reason Naomi probably doesn't even fucking mind staying out for even longer right now. The reason that Ember Moon is probably okay being injured right now. Play some video games and step the fuck out of that bullshit. Why do you think they feel that way? It's because they couldn't even get TV time half the time. Charlotte, they have to put on TV even when they know they have to take her out of the main event. They have to keep her at least for a few months away from a championship, but they keep putting Charlotte Flair on TV. Ember Moon would have only dreamed of that through 2019. Asuka and Kairi, most of 2019, had to beg for TV time. But you don't stand up for them, bro. You stand up for Charlotte Flair because in the last month, it's weird. She's still on TV, but in tag teams. Bro, no doubt, Charlotte Flair is really good at what she does. She's even okay on the microphone. Bro, have you ever seen what Ember Moon can really do? Outside of what you see behind your little headset. Do you know what Ember Moon is capable of? Have you ever seen Naomi's athleticism and what she is capable of? Have you seen Sasha Banks in that ring? The way she elevates and I can't stress that enough, every single opponent she is in that ring with, how she elevates them, not just herself. Have you seen Asuka and Kairi's work? And bro, this is mind-boggling you? The booking of Charlotte Flair is horrendous? After that WrestleMania main event, after defeating Trish Stratus, after defeating Bayley for the championship just 2 months ago, after nearly defeating Asuka and Kairi? And they finally said, all right, we keep putting her out there in these big matches and the fans are just not gravitating toward it. At some point, you have to remember the business that you're in. If the fans are rejecting it, you kind of have to go a different way. You have to. Batista and Randy Orton. Your main event at WrestleMania 30. Something like that, right? But the fans said, how about no? Absolutely not. That's fucking... Nobody wants to see that as the main event at WrestleMania 30. And we voiced our opinion and we voiced our frustration. And we put Daniel Bryan in there. And it ended up being one of the most historic fucking moments in pro wrestling history when Daniel Bryan hoisted that championship at WrestleMania 30. We did that. The fans will tell you who we want to see. Stone Cold Steve Austin. That wasn't supposed to be the biggest thing since sliced bread, but we told you we want that guy. And all of Vince's plans had to change. We will always never steer you wrong. We will always steer you in the right direction. You just gotta listen to us. There's a place for Charlotte Flair, no doubt. It doesn't always have to be the top storytelling, the top main event spot, or championships. She can be relevant in other ways. If you don't think last Monday almost beating Asuka and Kairi made her substantially relevant, you're a fucking dim-witted asshole. Because you're willing to let all of these other females deal with what they're going through, not say a word, but your precious queen, that's who you want to suck the right tit of. That's who you're willing to die on your hill with. Because that's your friend, as you put it in this little segment of your podcast. I didn't even read that part. This is your friend. I don't mean to throw any shade to her because that's my friend and that's why I'm saying this. Well, how about you step away from just your friendship and you start calling it down the middle? Because that's what I do on this platform. I was hoping you were going to do that on yours. But you're just spewing the same shit that Vince McMahon would like you to. And now the sheep that listen to you, they're going to go, yeah, Charlotte hasn't been booked in the main events in the last 6 weeks. Oh my God. What's going on with pro wrestling? Charlotte needs another championship. She needs to be the 11th-time champion in the next 2 weeks. Or this is tragic. Sasha Banks is over here with 4 title reigns, and they all equaled about 3 months total. Total, if you put all 4 combined. Ember Moon, please. She laughs at the even thought of having a title opportunity. She had one with Bayley around SummerSlam, and that was fucking it. Vince was like, there you go, kid. I'll see you in 7 years. Maybe we'll give you another shot. Come on, bro. You have to smarten up. This is a platform that reaches thousands of people. Your little podcast, you need to inform them correctly. If you're gonna say this booking doesn't feel right to you, you don't like this booking, well, what about the other superstars? And now you see, you contradicted yourself. Now you see why superstars are not happy. And they voice their frustrations. They show their frustrations in the ring. This is what you said on that very podcast that you don't like. They shouldn't voice their displeasures because they should be company men and women. But you just said at the end of your quote here, you said you can see it in her face. Charlotte looks like she's just going through the motions and just getting through the night. What, is she not happy with nearly defeating Asuka and Kairi both at once? Does she think she's actually that much better than Asuka? Get the fuck out of here. She's damn good. I'm not putting you in another league away from Asuka. No, Asuka's damn good at everything Asuka does. If Ember Moon could have only wished to have gotten some TV time in main events and some title opportunities and chances to hold the championship, she would have shown you how fucking great she truly is. She doesn't get the time, bro. And the only time you're going to see Naomi is if they want to put her on, or have to put her on a poster to show that the company is diverse. It's bullshit. You don't like Sasha Banks, I understand that. You want to talk about one of the greatest female talents in all of time. That's Sasha Banks, not just even because of her wrestling skills, but her defense and the way that she sells and the way that her mannerisms captivate you, but the way she elevates others. But you won't speak about Sasha's booking, will you? Bayley has a championship right now. She's tapping out to Shayna Baszler. She's watching Sasha Banks get right hooked by Lacey Evans this past Friday, and she just watches it. She's booked as a clown again. Even with this new heel persona, when she should be getting the skyrocket, but they ain't booking anybody correctly. And you honestly, your mind is boggled because of Charlotte Flair. Bro, I refuse to believe you're that much of a fucking dumb fuck. So don't act like it! Or if you're going to, dedicate the same amount of time to the other ladies. And then when you're done going through the whole roster of ladies that should be being booked more correctly than they are, when you're done with that, then you could go to the men's roster, because I assure you, there's a whole host of talent there, a plethora, that are waiting for you to speak up about them as well. But no, your friend and your queen that has had another enormous, immaculate 2019, it's not good enough. She should have beaten Asuka and Kairi this past Monday. She should end 2019 with a championship. Or else, everything is wrong in the WWE and everything is wrong in pro wrestling because Charlotte Flair isn't thrusted into the main spotlight. Give me a break, dude. That's what you dedicated your time on. The fact that I went this long, dedicated myself in this platform, in this video, to this silly, stupid, nonsensical bullshit topic is mind-boggling to me. So it ends right now and right here. That's it. That's the last word I'm going to speak on it. Smarten up. Use your platform wisely and in the correct way. People are listening and they're taking inventory to your words. Your words hold weight and value. Unfortunately, use them wisely. Don't be stupid. That's my message to Mr. Graves. Thank you. I like the dude when he's on commentary. I always tell you guys that. Nothing like Bobby Heenan and Ventura in that league, but he's the closest we have to them for someone of a commentator aspect to be sticking up for the heels. I like that. But then he goes on interviews and podcasts like this and he spews bullshit, and the only people that are able to call him out on it is people like me on this platform. You're damn right I'm gonna do it. I wouldn't have probably discussed this if it wasn't for this actually taking on a life of its own, and I started seeing this on headlines, on dirt sheets and shit, and I saw that a lot of people have clicked on it, and I was like, no, people are gonna hear this and actually think Charlotte Flair's booked poorly? Fuck that and fuck you. What else you guys want to talk about? I'm going to keep this one. We're almost close to fucking Friday Night SmackDown, guys. Speaking of Corey Graves. So I have to keep this podcast a little short. I had a lot to do earlier today. This podcast isn't going to get out to you till really later on Friday, probably right before SmackDown. So I'll try to keep this as short as possible. How about CM Punk and Seth Rollins? Rollins was the guest on Backstage this past Tuesday on FS1, 11 p.m. Eastern Time. So a lot of people don't actually watch this. But Rollins was a guest on there. Somebody asked Punk on social media if he was going to be there too, because then we can get Rollins and Punk to squash this right now. But Punk said, yeah, that's a hard pass, and he wasn't a part of last week's show. But Seth Rollins was asked right from the jump about Punk, and Rollins said, you know what? There's not much to say. I wish he was here. I wish we could have a face-to-face, but now it's pretty obvious that's not going to happen. He won't do it, so it would have been great, but it doesn't look like he's up for it, whatever. So he's basically pinning it all on CM Punk. He wants no part of it. I'm game. I'm ready to go a few rounds with CM Punk. So then, Will Ospreay was also brought up because they asked Seth Rollins where this kind of turn took, where the fans kind of turned on him, and he said, straight out, over on social media, he had some back and forth with Will Ospreay. After Backstage went off the air, Literally, I kid you not, the news came that John Morrison had re-signed with WWE. Now, we knew this for a while, but it was actually confirmed during backstage. John Morrison took to social media and said, I can't wait to get back in there with the best superstars in the world. CM Punk retweeted that, and he had his own response. He put, dude, Will Ospreay is in New Japan. So he's saying, what are you talking about, the best wrestlers in the world like Seth Rollins? No, Will Ospreay is in New Japan. Well, this was the dude that Seth Rollins just said he had some back and forth with, and because of that, the audience and the crowd and the fan base turned on him. So Punk knew that. Punk was watching and he heard that, and he threw major shade at Seth Rollins. Now, I don't know about you, but if I literally want nothing to do with someone or an entity or something, I'm just not going to respond to it. I'm not going to further the flames. But Punk went out of his way to retweet that and leave that response. Obvious shade to Rollins in keeping this banter going. Could it be what I've always told you about CM Punk? This dude is just about money. He contradicts himself, he's an absolute bullshitter, and he is just out for the money. For the longest time, he shit on pro wrestling, but when there was time to collect some money from some autographs, but he's never actually there for his fan base for anything else. He'll charge you for the autograph, and that's about it. Could it be he sees value in a CM Punk Seth Rollins possible main event match at WrestleMania 36? Could it be he's keeping the flames burning because there are dollar signs? WrestleMania 36, Rollins and Punk, and he knows this. And Rollins just did an interview for FS1 or Fox, one of the fucking two. They're all in the same. And Rollins said the one thing he really wants to do is main event WrestleMania because he's never had the chance to. He was a part of it when he turned it into a three-way and he actually defeated, Roman and Brock Lesnar. Remember when he cashed in? But he has never been the marquee match going into it, and he wants to. Why would he say something like that when we always knew that CM Punk always said the same thing? He always wanted to be the main event and never got to. There's so much story that could go into Rollins and Punk. And we started to see the seeds planted to a Rollins heel turn because we know Punk would be the face if he came back. I'm just saying, the groundwork, the foundation is already laid out for them if they choose to go that route. The ball is going to be in CM Punk's court. And Punk knows there is mega value in it. Way more than just selling his little fucking t-shirts or signing autographs for $25 and a picture for $20 more. Or you can get the t-shirt, the autograph, and the picture for a $60 bundle value. No, you can be raking in $1 million fucking dollars if you want to come back for 36 in Tampa, Florida. But the banter continues. Don't think for 1 second this is over. It's continuing, and Punk made sure of that. The biggest news of the wrestling week, we all know, it's Dana Brooke and Batista. I can confirm we can all relax. There's no more question to this. There's no more debate. There's no more to worry about. They are officially going on a date. Yes, these two crazy young kids in love, they finally get to get it on. They finally get to do the McNasty in Batista's gym, like they had aforementionedly set up. Great for them. Batista and Dana Brooke. May us all never have to hear about this ever again. Thank you. Winky face. Smiley emoji. What else? Is there anything else? Let me get a sip of coffee. We'll go over another story or two. Hold on. All right, guys. So I'll try to wrap this up within the next 10 minutes. We'll do just over a half an hour. Again, a little bit short so you guys can do what you need to do before SmackDown. I did want to touch up on the ratings. I promised you guys in yesterday's double upload video, separate NXT review, and I did a separate video for AEW's review. And I promised you guys that I would discuss the ratings a little bit more in depth. I touched up on it over on social media, over on Twitter at BC Amplified. But let me break it down a little more. And I'm not going to pat myself on the fucking back. A lot of you guys are like, damn, BC, you called it in yesterday's video. Before the ratings even came out, you said they were at least going to be close and you wouldn't be shocked if AEW actually wins by a slim margin. I'm not going to pat myself on the back because I've always been good at the numbers and projecting this type of stuff. I love the numbers. I just, that's the one nerdy side of me. When it comes to numbers, I totally geek out, man. I always did, even when I was a fucking teenager back in the Attitude Era. And the Nielsen ratings were always just the most funnest thing to see, who was going to win and by what margin, and I love to break down the numbers. I just totally nerd out for that shit. And I do the same thing on these Wednesday night wars. Or if you don't think it is, it's just an alternative. Let's all just love wrestling again on Wednesdays. Okay. Thanks for telling me how to watch. I do, by the way. I love watching both. I want to see both succeed. I enjoy watching both every Wednesday, and I enjoy breaking down the ratings. Can I not do all of that? So, I knew going into this that, okay, let's break down the holiday, right? We knew that because of Thanksgiving, you could take away 100,000 at least from each brand. The holiday is not what made NXT beat AEW last week. It's just not. AEW suffered the same amount as NXT. Everybody loses with the holiday. Nobody gains an advantage, so the holiday just takes 100 grand out of each. Let's just say that number. It sounds about right. So now you're going into post-Survivor Series, all right? That's going to up it a little bit, absolutely. But the same as going into Survivor Series, the 22,000, right? NXT defeated AEW by the 22,000. And that was with advertised infusion of main roster talent. No talent from the main roster was advertised for the post-show. So even if people are just tuning in for that, you would have to think it's still the same 22,000 that was going into it, or you can double that and make it 45 to 50,000. I'll give you that if you want. If you want to say BC, no, more tuned in because of it. Okay, I'll double that. You ain't going to convince me you're going to get more than double that. So that would only be 50. Why was it 147,000? I'm going to tell you why. It's what nobody wants to speak about. Everybody wants to say it was the holidays, but that affects AEW and NXT, not just one brand. So throw that out the window. Then people want to say it's NXT's infusion to Survivor Series and the whole War Games event. Nobody wants to talk about NXT was universally panned out to be the better show last week. Nobody wants to talk about the positive side of it. They were the better show, and that brought in more viewers to stay with them. No. It's because it was post-Survivor Series and War Games. It had nothing to do with being a better product, BC. Bullshit. I've been following ratings from the beginning, again, since the Attitude Era. I love this shit. I dissect it. I promise you, more vividly than anybody on this platform or in this industry, I love dissecting those numbers. And I usually pinpoint them right to a T. And I'm telling you right now, they were just the better show, and that added another 75,000 at least. And this week, I told you, I felt NXT took a step back and AEW took a step forward. And because now we are far removed from Survivor Series and War Games, that is why I felt with everything coming together in one bundle for AEW, it's packaged up with a little bow on top, they can at least be even again. And because AEW was even better than NXT, I felt like AEW had a chance to even squeak out a victory. And they did by 6,000. What do you call 6,000 viewers? I call that squeaking by. But a victory is a victory. So it doesn't matter if it's by one viewer. You won, they lost. But do you honestly think if AEW didn't put out a noticeably better product than NXT this week, that they would have gotten that 6,000? No, NXT would have at least gotten 15 to 20,000 if they were the better product. 15 to 20,000 easily. But AEW was the better product. So they squeaked out 6,000 more than NXT. You see where I'm going with this? Let's stop with the excuses every week and let's just talk about what product captivated you more. What drew your attention more? AEW this week. They got 6,000 more. That shows you how good NXT was. That they only lost by 6,000. I totally hear everybody's excuse. Yes. Post-Survivor Series, post-War Games was going to deliver a bigger audience for NXT, and it did. But why, my question is, why was it a 147,000 viewer gap? That is because they were better. I hope you guys are listening to me. The biggest difference was because they were a better show. They didn't pull 100,000 more people because it was post-Survivor Series. When going into it, they only won by 22,000. Stop. You gotta stop that shit. I say this time and time again, and people still want to just come out with the excuses. The bottom line is you gotta do whatever you gotta do to win. AEW are the new kids on the block. It's that new, fresh feel. They're going to get that pass for the next several months. I'm shocked they even lost for 2 weeks. I don't care if it was Survivor Series build or not, and NXT was a part of it. I am surprised AEW even lost. I thought for 6 months at least AEW was not even going to be touched. Because they are the fresh new kids on the block. They got the pyro. They're on the road every week. A fresh audience that is just seeing them for the first time. Whereas NXT, they're stuck at Full Sail. It's a much more smaller, it doesn't feel as big. It doesn't feel as energetic. AEW has a lot working for them. So of course, NXT has to do whatever they can to try to make this competitive. So they use an infusion of main roster during Survivor Series. I think that's brilliant. But everyone, oh, they needed 3 brands. It's not fair. They couldn't do it on their own. What are you talking about, bro? They did it on their show. They utilized all their resources when AEW was utilizing all their resources. And NXT won for 2 weeks, and this week they only lost by 6,000. All hands on deck and all is fair in love and war. Whether you like it or not, that's the truth. Stop coming up with, oh, it was a post this show, it was a holiday, the playoffs were on. If you're putting together a solid, captivating show, people will tune into your product. I promise you. I promise you they will. I saw it in the Attitude Era. When you thought people were going to be tuning into Monday Night Football, a much bigger selection, you saw a lot of people turning to WWE Pro Wrestling and Monday Night Raw and Nitro from WCW. Why? Because that war was raging on. You started to see ratings in the 6s and the 7s and beyond. Why were so many people tuning into pro wrestling when that's a big football fan base? Because wrestling was more captivating than the NFL at that point. Now, yes, obviously NFL pulled in a bigger rating overall because you just had a shitload of people that weren't wrestling fans. My point is, a big chunk of audience was taking away from NFL to watch the Monday Night Wars because it was captivating. And that's my point. It doesn't matter what entity you're against or put up against with. If you're putting together your best possible show and it's captivating, you're going to take viewers away and your shit will be epic. And the ratings will prove as such. I hope that makes sense, man. I'm so sick and tired of hearing all of that. We all know you're not smarter than every other wrestling fan when you say, wow, I hope people realize it's because it was a holiday. I hope people realize it was a post-Survivor Series. Well, I hope you realize NXT was the better show and they won by a bigger margin than what a post-show would give you, a post-pay-per-view would allow you to get. But that's what I'm here for, I guess. That's why I have the show. That's why I have thousands of viewers. Because I actually know the fuck I'm talking about. I'm just thankful that thousands of people understand that. Before you come up with excuses, ask yourself one question. Who was the better show? Who was more captivating? Ask yourself that. And then we can start bringing in every other thing. Yes, the holiday took a little bit here. Yes, the post-pay-per-view show took a little bit here. Yes, the playoffs took a little bit here. Then we can play that game. But to say they just won because of that, when you totally forgot the one little nugget of information that they were better? Please, bro. The Amplified Man. 44th Amplified Podcast. Thank you for joining me. Tomorrow, SmackDown's review and reaction. Till then, enjoy SmackDown tonight. Hopefully it's a good show. We'll find out. We'll talk about it tomorrow. The Amplified Man. Yow. Check you later.